So in the previous video, we talked a lot about why you would want to do something like liquid staking as opposed to regular staking. We focused in on Marinade Finance and how they return to you the mSOL token. And that token appreciates over time because it's automatically accruing the staking rewards, which is a really cool thing. But now that you've got the mSOL token, what's next? What do you do with it? Where can you spend it? That's what this video is going to be all about. Now, we're going to dive a lot into the DeFi ecosystem, and when we start talking about DeFi, you're talking about increased risk. So, absolutely nothing in this video should be construed as financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. These are not products that I am endorsing when we talk about the DeFi ecosystem. I'm just showing you what options are because I'm a person who is enthusiastic about this kind of stuff. So, without further ado, let's talk about the DeFi ecosystem and what you could do with your mSOL token. Let's go. So I have made my way on over to the Marinade.finance website. When you go to Marinade.finance, there's going to be a big button that says start staking your SOL right now. But it's not staking directly on a validator, is it? It's doing the liquid staking. You are putting your SOL into their pool so that they can distribute it to over 400 validators around the world based on certain criteria that meets decentralization objectives. It's a great thing. And in return, you get the mSOL token back. In fact, I'm just going to do a little bit of that business right now. Let's get that going. There we go. I had to move some Solana into my wallet so that I could actually walk through this demonstration. Let's just say I want to deposit one SOL into their staking ecosystem, which is totally fine. One SOL, it doesn't feel like it's a lot of money, but to some people it is. So one SOL is perfectly fine. If that's all you want to contribute, you can still do it. It tells you your projected APY as of right now is 5.85%. It is a little bit variable depending on the performance of validators. If you guys want to learn more about how validators actually work, how they actually perform votes, how they make money, and how they actually determine the APYs, let me know in the comments below. It will be super technical, but it is pretty fascinating too. And if you're ever interested in actually starting a validator, that is information that you absolutely will need to know. So I am going to approve this transaction real quick to deposit one SOL into the actual pool. It gets verified very, very quickly, confirmed very, very quickly, and now I've received 0.95 mSOL back. Of course, like I said, that's because mSOL is always gaining against SOL slightly, or at the rate of the APY, and that's just kind of how it works. So if I refresh my screen, I'll just hit F5 to refresh the screen. Now I see no balance because I am not connected. Let's connect to Phantom. And we're still waiting for the transaction to actually be confirmed and hit my Phantom wallet. So if at some point it's going to hit. At some point it's going to hit. In fact, there we go. I already see it in my wallet right there. So we just probably need to like clear the cache or something and get connected one more time. That's beside the point. Now it shows. Okay, now it shows. So I've got some mSOL in my wallet now. What can I do with this? Well, the kicker here is there's not a whole lot of places that accept mSOL as a payment. But wouldn't it be nice if they did? Think about that for a second. What if Magic Eden, who is implementing SPL tokens, that we know things like you'll probably or maybe going to be able to buy NFTs with Dust or Ori. They've talked about these things. Wouldn't it be killer if I could actually have mSOL just sitting in my wallet right now, gaining interest, and I could buy NFTs with that if I choose to? That way I don't have to worry about, swapping it back to SOL. I think this is just a random talking point that I just want to bring up, is that you as a consumer do have power to suggest these things. You as the consumer, the holder of NFTs, you have the option of going, hey, Magic Eden, I would like to be earning interest on my SOL right now. And when I want to buy an NFT, it'd be cool if I could just use it. And they're going to say, like, we'll just go swap it back. Use an aggregator or a DEX to go swap it back. And that's honestly, that's fine. That's a reasonable request. But Magic Eden would also benefit from having mSOL on their balance sheet, wouldn't they? Rather than just liquid SOL. There's always a DeFi risk associated with these things. Same with your DAO. Whatever DAO that you're in, whether you're a part of a big DAO, You know, like an NFT project's DAO, or you operate your own DAO. If you've got a balance sheet and it's sitting there just SOL, regular SOL, you may want to start thinking to yourself, well, why isn't it staked? Why aren't we holding mSOL, or why isn't it staked on a validator or something like that? Just a huge opportunity there to just contribute to the entire decentralization of the entire ecosystem while remaining liquid, while earning a yield on top of your current SOL, rather than just literally letting it sit there. Just in my opinion, that's a huge opportunity that could be being missed by several different players in the entire ecosystem. And I think it would be really cool if one day we actually had an ecosystem where payments could actually be based on staked SOL. That way, all of the money that's being spent on NFTs was also, at the same time, contributing to the decentralization of Solana, and also at the same time, earning all of the parties additional yield against the base Solana. Anyways, I digress. Just huge win there. Nonetheless, now that you've got this mSOL, what can you do? Under marinade.finance/app/DeFi, there are options about how you can earn additional yield on top of your yield that you're already getting. And that's by using the decentralized finance ecosystem. Now, I understand DeFi needs to be demystified a little bit. In fact, I've got a video on what DeFi is and specifically how liquidity pools work already here on my YouTube channel. But there are opportunities immediately out of the gate to talk about how you can actually contribute to the DeFi ecosystem. Now, the first one is right here. You can take your mSOL right here in the very first tab. If I scroll up just a hair, you see this is under Marinade Staking, where you can take your mSOL. And you can stake your mSOL to earn 1.94% APR paid out in the Marinade token, MNDE. Now, I'm going to make a video separate from this one that outlines what the Marinade token does, because it is very important and it's a very big deal. Although you as a consumer might not care that much about it, we as the validators, we really care a lot. The Marinade token has a lot of power in how the actual Marinade protocol works, and I'm going to talk about that later. But know that the 1.94% APR is going to come in the yield of the Marinade token. Now, there is a liquidity pool where you can provide mSOL to SOL, and it's currently spinning right now, so there's not a whole lot of details, and we'll talk more about liquidity pools. Or you can stake your LP token after you've provided liquidity, and then mine more Marinade tokens like so. Now, again, I'm going to talk about Marinade separately, and this is all directly within the Marinade ecosystem. The idea here is you are committing your mSOL token, locking it up in order to mine Marinade token, or providing liquidity into a liquidity pool so that you can mine Marinade tokens. This, when you do the Marinade staking, you're really doing it to get those Marinade tokens. What you as a consumer might be more interested in is more interested in providing liquidity. Now, this is a big talking point you need to understand very, very firmly upfront how this works. You've used a DEX before, right? You might have gone to something like Jupiter or Radium or Saber or Orca. A DEX is a decentralized exchange. This is in contrast to a CEX or a centralized exchange like Coinbase or KuCoin or Binance. That's what centralized exchanges do. But ultimately, exchanges allow you to take one currency and swap it to another currency, right? How does that really work? Well, at the end of the day, they just have such a gigantic pool of currencies that you can put your money into one pool and pull some money out of the other pool and pay a small fee for doing that. The centralized exchange is the collector of that fee. Coinbase, whenever you do a swap on Coinbase, they charge you however much money, X%, and that's their cut of actually performing the swap for you. But it really doesn't impact them much because they have so much money, so much pool of resources that they can do this. But again, it's centralized. With a decentralized exchange, it's the same concept where there's a gigantic pool of money and there's going to be a fee associated with putting one coin into the pool and pulling another coin out of the pool. But the difference is that it's decentralized. How is it decentralized? because average jackasses like me and you are the ones who add to the pool. And we're the ones who collect the fee. That's how it works. But specifically, a big talking point about these pools is that they have to maintain a 50-50 balance, or they should try really hard to maintain a 50-50 balance of what coins are going in and what coins are going out. That's not necessarily the quantity of coins that are going in, it's more the value of the coins that are going in. So for instance, if I want to swap SOL to Ethereum using a decentralized exchange, that means for every, let's pretend for a second that Ethereum is $1,000, just to make something up nice and flat. And let's pretend that SOL is $50, just to make these nice round numbers. That means for every 1 ETH that I want to deposit into the pool, I have to deposit 20 SOL. That way it stays nice and balanced in terms of USD dollars. The things about this, though, is as people, let's just say like Ethereum goes on a tear for whatever reason, and Ethereum starts going up in value to like $2,000 at this point. The kicker here is what is actually happening to the liquidity pool when this is happening. Well, what's happening is as Ethereum is going up, people out here, not liquidity providers, but the average consumer, they're putting their SOL into this side of the pool while they're trying to take Ethereum out of the pool because they want to have more Ethereum as it's going up. So that's what they're happening. They're actually selling the SOL in order to buy Ethereum when they're actually performing the swaps. So when consumers start using the liquidity pool and things start getting a little off kilter, the kicker here is your value that you deposited originally, it also starts to get off balance as a liquidity provider. I know, this is the part that gets kind of tricky. Now, all of a sudden, what might end up happening, whereas you originally put in 1 Ethereum and 20 Solana, what might end up happening now is you end up with something more like 40 Solana and a half of an Ethereum because of how the balance of the actual liquidity pool is working whenever the consumers are actually buying the coins themselves. So what ends up happening when you see this, where you are now holding more of the coin that's losing relative to the other coin, this is called impermanent loss. And you really see this happen when you have coins that don't move together at all. For instance, Solana and Ethereum, you can kind of see them still moving together, right? Like as one goes up, chances are the other one's going to go up even if it's not a 1-to-1 ratio. When you have something like Solana and USDC, well, guess what? Solana goes up big, you're going to be stuck with USDC, and you missed out on Solana going up on a big run because you put all of your money into this liquidity pool. And this is where you have the biggest risk of impermanent loss, is when you have coins that absolutely have no relation whatsoever. Or you especially see it with some sort of shit token or native token that's part of like a DeFi project or an NFT project, and you've stabled it up against USDC or something, then that thing is just going to go all over the place. But how do you get away from having impermanent loss is by simply having 2 coins that follow almost identically to each other, like USDC to USDT. These types of swaps, you would think, well, why would anybody swap one stablecoin for another stablecoin? Happens all the time. Happens all the time. And they honestly, this is like one of the most common types of swap that there is, a stablecoin to stablecoin. And there's effectively, I'm not going to say no risk because there's always risk when you deal with DeFi, but this is the most minimal type of impermanent loss that could possibly happen. Now, what is an example where this could happen? UST, USDC, does that ring a bell to anybody? What happened to UST? Completely imploded, and everybody was trying to get USDC, probably couldn't. They were probably stuck holding a gigantic bag full of UST. So this is why I want to highlight that there are risks in the DeFi when it comes to providing liquidity. But let's say, for a moment, you're eyeing this mSOL to SOL. This is almost like the exact same thing, as USDC to USDT, because the mSOL is really just SOL at the end of the day that just earns a little bit of interest. So they're going to follow an almost identical chart, and the risk of impermanent loss is minimized extraordinarily. And now I'm looking at the ability to provide this liquidity and earn an additional 7.7% APY by providing that liquidity to Saber. So how does this look? When I jump to add liquidity here in the Saber application, I connect my wallet and I see I'm given this little dialog box. I can click the mSOL button right here to deposit all of my mSOL into the pool. And on Saber, I'm going to put in something like an identical amount, like 1 SOL on the other side of the liquidity pool. And that's how this works. I click deposit, and once I click deposit and approve this transaction, under the hood, what's really happening here is Saber is going to return to me a liquidity pool token, and that's effectively like my redeem pass. I'm holding this token because that entitles me to my share of this liquidity pool. So whenever I want to withdraw, I click this withdraw button, and I simply exchange my liquidity pool token back for the original underlying assets that I provided in. But of course, they'll come with an additional yield. Now, take it a step further, you can do something with that liquidity pool token. And that's by using something like an aggregator, like Sunny. So when I go into Sunny, I have the ability to jump down into the pool section, and right there under Saber, I can earn an additional 5.5% APY by depositing my liquidity pool tokens into Sunny. Now, the rewards that come back here, if you actually click on the rewards, are going to come back in the Saber token and the Sunny token. And this gets into an entirely different, down real into the weeds, like we're going down a rabbit hole here about how these are governance tokens. I'm not even going to say most people. A lot of people just take these tokens, swap them to USDC or to SOL just to kind of cash in. But this is kind of the rabbit hole that you can go down when you go down liquidity pool providing. You can provide liquidity into a DEX like Saber or like Radium. And from there, you can sometimes, in fact frequently, take that liquidity pool token and farm it even further. In Radium, they do have farms where you can stake your liquidity pool token and earn the Ray token back. So I want you to know that that is how liquidity pool providing works. But and this isn't to say that you want to avoid these, but you should just be more cautious when you see things like mSOL USDC, mSOL USDT, Bitcoin mSOL, because the risks of impermanent loss are greatly higher than just doing mSOL SOL. So that's the thing that I want to point out when it comes to liquidity providing. Then there's just straight up lending. Just straight up lending. This is where I can take my mSOL and I can loan it to a DeFi protocol. You're looking at this one and looking at Synthetify and going, wow, 17% APY. Well, you're going to want to take the time to understand what are they doing with this loaned mSOL. Where is it going? Is it going into a leveraged liquidity provider? Is it going straight back into people who are just borrowing against their underlying assets? Because, of course, leverage is a dangerous thing to play with. And we're seeing things like right now with other DeFi and leverage providers in the ecosystem where, without the right checks and balances in place, the protocol itself could implode, which sets off a huge chain reaction. So while it's just looks like 17% APY, wow, that sounds amazing. Maybe it is, but you probably want to dig into what the protocol is actually doing and what do they actually do with the mSOL before you lend out your actual tokens, because there's always a chance with DeFi and lending that you might not be repaid someday. Then there's leverage farming, and for the riskier person, this one is my favorite. This is the one that I like. I particularly like using Orca's leverage farming. These are actually called whirlpools. And this is like being a liquidity provider, but also adding some lending into it to squeeze a little more lemon, or squeeze a little more drops out of the lemon. Let's go to orca.so, and I can show you kind of how the whirlpools very high level work. In fact, when you first come to this website, the very first time you connect your wallet and go into the whirlpools, they want you to take a moment to actually watch a tutorial video. In fact, you can always rewatch the tutorial video by clicking the tutorial here. Give that a watch and read the documentations. Again, right here, there's a little link that says read the docs to learn about what whirlpools are and how leverage farming works. Because again, there is more risk associated with this because there is lending involved. It looks like I got to sign back in, but I will show you, an example about how this will really work. If you actually look at my portfolio, I'm actually doing this right now for the Shadow to SOL token. So if I jump back into the Explorer, right here, like the second one on the list is SOL to mSOL, and I'm looking at a 17.4% APY or APR. I'm going to do the suggested range just to keep it nice and simple, and it brings me into this amount that I can deposit. I'm going to choose the max mSOL amount, which automatically fills in my max SOL amount. I'm going to unlock my Phantom wallet here, or excuse me, my Phantom wallet, my Ledger wallet here. I'm going to preview this. I'm going to confirm the deposit, and I'm going to approve the deposit right now. Now, there's another thing that I think is pretty cool about this is outside of the fact that I'm earning trade fees while this is going on, while people are just like liquidity providing, where people are swapping from SOL to mSOL and back, and I'm earning a fee on that. Beyond that, for using this specific liquidity pool on the actual platform, the Orca platform, I'm also mining the Marinade token as well as the Orca token, and these all come back to a concept called governance. But right here, I see that I've got trade fees amounting to 66%, and these are automatically accruing. If I go up here and I click Harvest All, I'll actually show you from my Shadow SOL. This is the Shadow SOL pool that's just been sitting here, and 100% of this pool is paying me in trading fees. Look, if I click Harvest All, watch the actual feature. Oh, it shows me it's unable to gather the info. Come on, try one more time. I want to see this. Nope. Okay, so I'm sorry it's not showing that. But what it would actually do is I would be getting paid a little bit of Shadow and a little bit of SOL. When I click Harvest All, that's what I'm getting. I'm getting some Shadow, I'm getting some SOL, and now that I've got SOL mSOL, I'd be getting some more SOL, some InSOL, some Orca, and some Marinade. And this is how I can squeeze just a little bit more out of that lemon. Get a little bit more of that juice. Now again, it's using some extraordinary amounts of leverage, 128x. But this is, at least when it comes to impermanent loss and liquidity providing, at least these two pairs move closely together. So this is the DeFi ecosystem. This is a way that you can take your mSOL and do more with it. What I want to re-stress was what I said at the very beginning of this video, is that you, as a consumer, have more power than you think. And if you're a part of a DAO that's just sitting there holding SOL, ask them, why are we not holding mSOL? If you're a consumer who likes to shop using your Solana, wouldn't it be nice if you were earning a little extra yield first? Wouldn't it be nice to just be able to spend some of that mSOL, but if you don't spend that mSOL, you went to bed tonight earning interest? That's the idea here. And I think knowing how Marinade Finance works and how Liquid Stake providing works and how they benefit the entire ecosystem by decentralizing it, wouldn't it be cool if all of these DAOs and providers actually deposited their SOL into the Marinade pool, got some mSOL back, and then all of a sudden that was used to decentralize the network even more? There's just a humongous amount of power out there that can decentralize the network right now. And I have opinions on, and maybe not all of it. Maybe don't take 100% of your SOL, but maybe a portion of it. 20 or 25% of that, is just going to sit there anyways. It makes a lot of sense to me to do that. Anyways, I digress. This has been what you can do with your mSOL now that you've got it in the DeFi ecosystem. Thanks for stopping by, y'all. See you in the next one.